The desert stretched as far as the eye could see, its golden dunes rising and falling like waves of a dry sea. The sun was strong, and the wind carried fine grains of sand that stung the skin. For many weeks, a small team of explorers had been working here, digging carefully near a broken stone wall that had been hidden under layers of sand for centuries. Arun stood at the edge of the dig site, wiping sweat from his forehead. He was a tall man with calm eyes, and though the heat made others restless, he carried himself with patience. He was not only searching for treasure. He wanted answers about the past, about the hidden corners of history that still waited to be told. Beside him worked Myra, a sharp-minded woman with steady hands. She had been reading old records for months and believed this part of the desert was special. The sound of picks striking stone echoed across the camp. The workers had uncovered a large slab beneath the sand. At first, it seemed like a normal floor, but as more of the sand was cleared, they found that the slab was carved with strange patterns. The carvings looked older than anything they had seen before. They were not simple lines or shapes but complex symbols, smooth and precise, as if made with tools that did not belong to that age. Myra leaned close to the markings and traced one with her finger. "These are not common signs," she whispered. Her voice carried a mix of awe and fear. "They are too perfect. No hand could make such lines with stone tools." Arun studied the carvings. The desert sun made the symbols glow faintly, as if light was trapped inside the stone. He felt a chill run through him, though the air was hot. He had seen many ruins before, but nothing like this. With great effort, the team lifted the slab. A deep passage was revealed, its entrance hidden for countless years. The air that escaped was dry yet strangely heavy, as if it carried secrets long sealed. The workers stepped back in silence, unsure if they should go further. Arun felt his heart beat faster. He knew they had found something that was never meant to be seen by chance. He lit a torch and looked at Myra. She nodded, though her eyes showed concern. Together they stepped into the passage, leaving the bright desert behind. The walls of the tunnel were smooth and slanted, leading downwards. Unlike rough stone tombs, these walls had a strange finish, almost as if melted into shape. The deeper they walked, the cooler the air became, though a low hum seemed to rise from the stone itself. Finally, they entered a wide chamber. The ceiling was high, and the walls were covered with more of the glowing marks. They looked like rivers of light frozen in stone. At the center of the chamber stood a stone throne, massive and carved with care. Upon the throne rested a golden mask. It gleamed in the torchlight, its surface untouched by time. The mask was shaped like a human face but with features that were both beautiful and strange. The eyes were long and narrow, and the mouth was set in a calm but stern line. The air in the chamber felt heavy, pressing down on them. Arun walked closer, his steps slow. He felt as if the mask was watching him, though it remained still. Myra followed but kept her distance. Her voice trembled as she said, "This is not only a burial site. This is something else." Arun nodded. His gaze remained fixed on the mask. He thought of the legends he had heard about pharaohs who ruled with wisdom and power. Yet this mask seemed beyond a pharaoh's reach. It was not only gold. It was alive in a way he could not explain. One of the workers called from the passage, asking if they should come down, but Arun told them to wait. He wanted time to understand what they had found before more eyes saw it. He stepped closer to the throne. His torchlight reflected across the mask's surface, and for a moment he thought he saw the faintest flicker in its eyes, like a spark of blue fire. He blinked and it was gone. Myra gasped softly. "Did you see that?" she asked. Arun did not answer at once. He felt a weight in his chest, a strange mix of fear and wonder. The chamber was more than stone and gold. It felt like a place built with purpose, a place that waited for someone to arrive. They stood in silence, the desert far above them forgotten. The mask seemed to rest but also to listen. Arun knew deep inside that they had crossed into a story larger than their search for history. This was no simple treasure. This was a secret that had waited for them, and its truth was only beginning to rise. The chamber was silent, yet the silence was not empty. It carried weight, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Arun stood near the golden mask, his torch casting long shadows across the floor. The throne seemed to rise above him, and the mask shone as though it had its own light. Myra moved slowly along the wall, studying the glowing symbols. She traced her hand close to the carvings but did not touch them. "These marks," she whispered, "they are not decoration. They tell something, maybe a warning." Arun nodded, but his eyes did not leave the mask. He felt as though it wanted to be seen, as though its presence demanded attention. He could not look away. The air around him grew colder, though no wind touched his skin. His heart beat fast, and he felt both drawn to and afraid of the golden face. At last, Myra stepped closer to the throne. She had always been braver than she appeared, curious even when fear whispered in her mind. Her hand reached out, slow and careful, until her fingers brushed against the edge of the mask. The chamber answered. Light burst from the eyes of the mask, bright blue and sharp as lightning. It filled the room with sudden brilliance, painting the walls with moving shadows. Myra cried out and stepped back, but the mask did not fall. Instead, it lifted itself slightly from the throne, as if held by an unseen force. A voice filled the chamber. It was not loud, yet it carried into every corner, pressing into their ears and their hearts. The voice was deep, clear, and heavy with age. "Do not disturb what was sealed," it said. "To take the mask is to call death that walks beyond the sands." The words made the workers at the passage cry out in fear. Some dropped their tools and fled back to the surface, but Arun stood firm. He felt the voice echo inside his chest, shaking him more than any storm. Still, he would not leave. Myra held onto his arm, her face pale in the blue light. "It speaks," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It speaks like it lives." The mask turned its gaze toward them, though no head moved, only the burning blue of its eyes. The golden lips did not open, yet the voice came again. "This chamber is not a tomb. It is a gate of memory. You who enter must listen. You who see must choose. To carry this mask away is to bring the shadow of ending." The words were heavy, yet they stirred something inside Arun. He did not hear only threat. He heard a test, a measure of worth. His voice shook but did not break as he answered. "Who are you?" he asked. "What truth do you guard?" The blue light grew stronger, and the glowing symbols on the walls began to shift. They no longer looked like random carvings but shaped themselves into patterns. Lines curved and joined until a star map spread across the stone. Arun and Myra looked around in awe as the chamber itself became a sky of light. The mask spoke again. "We were not born of this world. We came from the stars above, long before your kingdoms rose. We gave wisdom to the first ones, taught them to build, to write, to shape stone. But we feared them also. We feared what they would become if left unchecked." Arun felt his skin prickle. The voice was not of any god or pharaoh, but of something beyond human. The mask was not treasure. It was a record, a guardian of truths buried in time. The workers outside shouted again, begging to leave, but Arun raised his hand. "Stay back," he told them. "This is not danger. This is knowledge." Yet his voice betrayed his doubt, for even he felt the cold of fear crawling up his arms. Myra stepped forward, eyes wide with wonder. "If what you say is true," she said to the mask, "then why speak now? Why wait for us?" The mask's light dimmed for a moment, as if considering her question. Then the voice replied. "Because the seal is broken. Because the desert no longer hides us. The world has changed. Humans have risen beyond the reach of kings. You stand now at the edge of choice. Will you carry forward with wisdom, or will you fall to the hunger of power?" The words filled Arun with pride as well as fear. The mask saw humans not as servants but as a people strong enough to choose. He felt his heart swell, though the weight of the voice pressed him down. The chamber returned to silence, the mask lowering itself once more onto the throne. The blue glow dimmed but did not vanish. Its eyes remained alive, like coals waiting to burn again. Arun and Myra looked at each other. Their discovery was no longer a secret tomb. It was the voice of the past, a warning from beyond the stars. And though the workers begged them to close the chamber and flee, Arun knew they could not. Something greater had been placed in their hands. The mask had spoken of death, but in its warning, it also gave proof that humans were part of a larger story. Arun did not know where this path would lead, but he knew he could not turn away. The chamber of the mask was no longer silent. It had awakened, and so had the fate of those who dared to listen. The night above the desert was quiet, but inside the hidden chamber, the silence carried power. Arun stood at the center of the hall, the torchlight flickering against the walls, while the golden mask remained on its throne. Its eyes still glowed faintly, as if holding secrets that waited to be spoken. Myra paced slowly near the star map that now stretched across the stone walls. The glowing lines formed patterns too precise to be chance. Circles, arcs, and shining points connected to each other, creating shapes that resembled constellations. She traced one of the lines with her finger, her mind racing with thoughts. "This is not art," she said softly. "It is knowledge. It is a map of the heavens." Arun stepped closer. He studied the glowing marks. The points of light were not random. Some matched the stars he remembered from nights spent in the desert. Others were strange, set in positions no common map of the sky had ever shown. The mask lifted its voice once more. The sound was calm but firm, like a teacher guiding a student. "These are the homes of those who came before you," the voice said. "We crossed the sea of stars when your kind was still young. We gave fire, stone, and seed. We guided the rise of the first builders." Arun's eyes widened. He felt a rush of pride and confusion. The legends of gods and kings, the myths told by storytellers, were not only tales. They were memories of visitors from beyond. Yet the voice was not full of pride. It carried caution, like a parent speaking to a child who might one day surpass them. "Why did you leave?" Myra asked. Her voice trembled with both wonder and fear. "If you guided us, why did you vanish into silence?" The mask's eyes burned brighter. The patterns on the wall shifted again, moving like rivers of light. The stars stretched and then shrank, showing images instead of maps. Scenes appeared as though the walls had become windows. Arun and Myra saw visions of giant ships gliding through dark space. They saw tall figures cloaked in shadow, working with strange tools and building temples of stone. Then they saw humans small, fragile, and simple standing beside those figures. The taller beings gave them gifts, a burning torch, a stone blade, a seed of grain. The vision moved faster. The humans grew stronger, building villages and walls, learning to farm, to write, to fight. The tall figures watched, their faces hidden, their eyes full of doubt. The voice came again. We left because we feared. We feared what your kind would do if given too much. You grew not as servants but as rivals. We saw hunger in your eyes, hunger not only for food but for power. So we turned away. We sealed our memory within this chamber and hid it beneath the sands. We waited for the day when one of you would return, strong enough to listen. Arun clenched his fists. His heart was filled with pride, but also anger. We were not weak, he said. We became strong even without your hand. We built kingdoms, crossed seas, and rose from nothing. If you feared us, then you saw the truth that humans are more than what you believed. The chamber trembled faintly, as if the walls themselves were alive. The blue light around the mask grew warmer, no longer sharp like lightning but steady like fire. The voice spoke with a tone that carried both respect and warning. You are indeed strong. You learned to fight storms and survive winters. You learned to build cities from dust. Yet strength is not always wisdom. The same fire that warms can also burn. The same blade that protects can destroy. Myra stepped forward, her face calm though her heart raced. Then this chamber, she said, is not only a warning. It is also a gift. You chose to speak again because you believe we are ready. The mask's eyes turned toward her. For a moment, the light dimmed, as if in agreement. Then the voice continued. Your world grows louder. We see fires that reach the sky and machines that move faster than horses. The seal broke because your steps reached the edge of the stars. If you take the mask, you will carry the weight of choice. You may rise and meet the sky as equals, or you may bring shadows across the world. The choice is yours. The words pressed into Arun's chest like stone. He looked at Myra, and she at him. Neither spoke, but both understood. The mask was not only telling stories. It was placing trust or judgment into human hands. Arun turned back to the glowing star map. One cluster of lights shone brighter than the rest, set far from the others. He pointed at it. This system, he said. Why does it shine brighter? The voice answered, deep and solemn. Because it is the place of origin. It is where our first steps began. And one day, it may be where yours will go. But beware. The path to the stars is not only wonder. It is also trial. The chamber dimmed again, the visions fading into the stillness of stone. The mask lowered its light, resting silent on the throne. The workers outside murmured nervously, afraid to step inside. Arun and Myra stood in silence, their hearts heavy but their eyes alive with new fire. They had come in search of treasure, but they had uncovered something far greater. The mask had spoken not only of death but of destiny. The desert above remained quiet, unaware of what had awakened below. But Arun knew that from this moment, their journey was no longer about history. It was about the future, about whether humans would rise to meet the stars or fall under the weight of their own choices. The chamber lay in silence after the visions faded, but the silence was not empty. It was heavy with meaning, like the pause between a question and an answer. Arun stood tall near the throne, his torchlight flickering against the mask. His mind raced with everything he had seen: the ships across the stars, the tall figures guiding early humans, and the warning that humans now stood at the edge of choice. Myra leaned against the wall, still staring at the star map. Her heart beat fast, and her breath was short. She felt both wonder and fear, as though the ground beneath her had shifted. "Arun," she said softly, "we should leave. This knowledge is too great for us. Maybe we are not ready." Arun looked at her, his expression calm but firm. "If not us, then who?" he asked. "The mask spoke because we came here. We found it. We listened. If we run away now, then we betray the reason this chamber was opened." Myra lowered her eyes. His words carried truth, but she could not silence her fear. She thought of the workers outside, whispering in the tunnel, eager to escape back into the desert. None of them wanted to stay near a mask that spoke with the voice of the stars. The workers called down to them. "Arun! Myra! Come out! Leave that thing behind before it curses us all." Their voices echoed, filled with fear. Arun did not answer them. He took a slow step closer to the throne. His eyes locked on the golden mask, and he felt its gaze press into him. His voice was steady. "You say we may rise or fall," he said to the mask. "But you forget one truth. Humans may fall many times, but they always rise again. That is our strength. That is who we are." The mask stirred. Its eyes glowed faintly, like embers hidden in ashes. The walls trembled with a low hum. Myra felt the ground shift under her feet, and she reached for the wall to steady herself. "You speak with pride," the mask's voice replied, deep and calm. "But pride alone cannot shield against shadow. Tell me, human, why should your kind be trusted with the fire of the stars?" Arun's chest tightened, but he did not look away. His words came slow but clear. "Because we learn. We stumble, we make mistakes, but we do not stop. We build when others would only destroy. We carry memory, we tell stories, we honor the dead and fight for the living. We may be flawed, but we never surrender to despair. That is why we must be trusted." The chamber fell silent again. Myra watched him, her fear easing slightly as she heard the strength in his voice. She had known Arun for years, but she had never seen him speak with such fire. The mask responded. Its light grew brighter, casting blue fire across the chamber walls. The star map shifted again, showing not visions of the past but of possible futures. They saw humans sailing across black space in ships made of steel. They saw cities built on other worlds, lights shining in skies far from Earth. Yet they also saw dark scenes, machines of war, fire raining upon cities, oceans rising against coasts. "These are the paths ahead," the mask said. "One of light, one of shadow. Which will your kind choose?" Arun stepped forward, his hand closing into a fist. "We will choose both," he said. "We cannot deny the shadow, for it walks with us. But even in shadow, we search for light. That is what makes us human." The chamber pulsed with energy, as though it breathed. The mask's eyes flared, then dimmed to a steady glow. "You speak with resolve," the voice said. "Perhaps you are ready to bear what was hidden." Myra's heart leaped at those words, though fear still clung to her. She walked closer to Arun, her torchlight joining his. "You believe we can hold this knowledge without being broken by it," she said. Arun nodded. "We must. It is not only about us. It is about everyone who will come after. We have no choice but to carry it." The mask fell silent again, but the chamber began to change. The star map faded from the walls, and in its place, a new glow appeared behind the throne. A narrow opening formed in the stone, as if the chamber itself had heard Arun's words and answered. Myra gasped. It opens. Arun took a step forward, but then turned back to the workers in the passage. Stay where you are, he called. This path is not for many. It is for those who choose to face it. The workers muttered in fear and confusion, but they did not come closer. Arun and Myra exchanged a look. Their fear was still there, but now it was joined by determination. They had come as explorers seeking ruins, but now they were keepers of something greater. The chamber had tested them, and though the trial was not finished, Arun felt they had taken the first step. He turned back to the mask, his voice firm. We will not turn away. Whatever lies beyond, we will face it. The golden mask remained still, but its eyes flickered once more, like a flame that approves of the wind that dares to rise against it. The hidden passage behind the throne glowed faintly, as if light breathed from within the stone. Arun felt a pull toward it, yet he knew the mask had not finished. The golden face stared down from its seat, the eyes burning softly with blue fire. The air in the chamber thickened, heavy and cold. Do you believe yourself worthy? The voice of the mask asked, strong and clear. Words are easy. Resolve is easy. But courage must be tested. Only then shall truth be given. Myra's breath caught. She looked at Arun with unease. What does it mean by test? We have already proved ourselves by standing here. Arun shook his head slowly. His gaze did not leave the mask. No. This is more than speaking. It wants to see our hearts. The ground rumbled. The torchlight wavered, and the chamber walls seemed to stretch and blur. Arun blinked, and suddenly the chamber was gone. He stood alone in a desert storm. The sky was dark with swirling sand, and the wind roared so loud it shook his bones. He raised his arm to shield his face, but the sand cut like blades, tearing at his skin. The torch was gone. The mask was gone. Myra was gone. Where are you? Arun shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the storm. The mask's voice answered, though it was not around him but inside him. This is the first vision. The storm is despair. It strips away all that you know, all that you built. When the world turns against you, will you stand or will you fall? Arun staggered through the sand, each step heavy. He thought of the workers, of Myra, of the chamber left behind. Fear pressed into his chest, but he clenched his fists. I will stand, he shouted. Even if the storm breaks me, I will not surrender. The wind howled louder, but Arun pushed forward. The sand burned his eyes, his skin, his lungs, yet he refused to stop. And then, as suddenly as it began, the storm faded. The desert vanished. Arun found himself in darkness. A vast ocean stretched before him, black and endless. Waves rose like walls, crashing against each other with thunder. The ground beneath his feet was narrow, barely more than a strip of stone floating above the waters. The mask's voice came again. This is the second vision. The waters are fear. They rise to drown hope. When you face the flood of doubt, will you sink or will you fight to rise? The waves surged higher, rushing toward him. Arun's heart pounded. He wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. He stood firm, planting his feet on the stone path. I will fight, he cried. Fear may rise, but humans rise higher. I will not sink. The waves crashed down, cold and crushing, but instead of drowning, Arun felt himself lift above the flood. The water fell away, and the darkness faded. He stood once more in the chamber. The throne loomed before him, the mask staring down. Myra was beside him again, her torch shaking in her hand. She looked at him with wide eyes. "I saw it too," she whispered. "I was trapped in fire. It tried to burn me. But I walked through it." The mask's voice filled the chamber once more. "You faced storm and flood. You walked through flame. You did not turn from despair, nor fear, nor pain. Your courage is proven." The walls trembled, and the air grew lighter. The blue glow in the mask's eyes softened, like a flame that no longer burned with anger but with respect. Arun's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His body felt weak, yet his spirit felt stronger than ever. Myra wiped her brow and smiled faintly. For the first time, the weight of fear seemed lighter. The mask spoke again, but its tone had changed. It no longer sounded like a judge but like a teacher who had accepted a student. "Courage is the root of wisdom. Without it, knowledge is a weapon that turns against its holder. You have shown courage, and so the way is open." The opening behind the throne widened. Light poured from within, bright and steady. The chamber no longer felt like a tomb but like a doorway to something greater. The workers in the passage shouted again, but their voices were distant, unimportant. Arun looked at Myra, and she looked back at him. No words were needed. They both knew they could not turn back. Arun stepped toward the new passage. His voice was low but strong. "We faced your visions, and we did not bend. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together." The mask did not answer, but its eyes glowed one last time, as if in silent approval. The chamber grew still, waiting. With steady steps, Arun and Myra walked toward the light of the passage. Their trial was not over, but their courage had been tested and found true. The future now waited beyond the stone, and they carried with them not only fear but resolve. The passage behind the throne led Arun and Myra into a new hall, unlike any part of the chamber they had seen before. The walls were smooth and pale, and a soft light came from the floor, filling the room without flame or torch. It felt peaceful, even sacred, as though the air itself held knowledge. At the center of the hall were rows of crystal slabs standing upright, shining like frozen light. Arun stepped forward slowly, his hand brushing along the edge of one slab. When he touched it, the crystal seemed to hum softly, and a faint glow ran through his fingers. Myra gasped in awe, stepping closer. These are not just stones," she whispered. "They are records. Something like a library, but carved in crystal." The golden mask's voice echoed in the hall, soft but certain. "These are the memories we have kept. They are the history of your kind, seen through the eyes of those who watched from the stars. You were chosen to rise, yet you were tested, and you endured." Arun looked around, amazed. Each crystal slab contained glowing images, not still but moving. He saw villages growing into cities, rivers being redirected, forests planted and harvested. He saw humans inventing tools, learning to read the sky, and building monuments of stone and gold. The visions flowed quickly but clearly, showing not only achievements but mistakes, failures, and struggles. Myra stepped closer to another slab and touched it. The crystal glowed brighter, and a new vision appeared. She saw humans facing beasts, storms, and famine. Yet in every trial, humans adapted. They worked together, they learned, and they survived. "These are not only records," Arun said quietly. "They are proof. Proof that humans were never weak, never lost. They always rose again." The mask spoke again. "We feared your ambition, your hunger for more. But we also saw your resilience. Your kind learned to walk, then run, then fly without our guidance. You were underestimated, and yet you endured. That is the hidden gift. Myra turned to Arun, her eyes wide. The mask, it trusts us now. It believes in humans. Not as children to be taught, but as equals. We are meant to carry this knowledge forward. Arun nodded slowly. Yes. We have learned about the past, and now we must use it for the future. Not for power, not for greed, but for wisdom. The light in the hall shifted, and the slabs began to arrange themselves into patterns. One set of crystals glowed brighter than the others, showing a map not of the sky but of Earth. It highlighted places where humans had first built settlements, first learned to farm, first discovered fire. Then it expanded to show distant lands, oceans crossed, and cities that rose where no one expected. The mask's voice continued, calm and steady. Every step of your journey has been recorded. Every choice, every triumph, every failure. These are not judgments. They are lessons. The gift we give is memory, knowledge, and the understanding that your kind can shape the world with care or with destruction. The choice is yours. Arun felt a weight on his shoulders, yet it was not fear. It was responsibility, the kind that grows when someone is given trust. He looked at Myra. She reached out and took his hand, steady and certain. Together, they understood. They had been tested, they had faced fear, and now they were given guidance for the future. This is more than history, Arun said. This is a chance to see ourselves clearly. To see not only what we did but what we can become. Myra smiled faintly. And we are not alone. The mask, the chamber, these records, they are a reminder that we were watched, and that we were believed in. That is the gift. The air in the hall shifted again, warm and gentle. The golden mask's eyes glowed one last time, a soft blue that did not burn but shone like the dawn. Its voice spoke for the final time in the hall. The hidden gift is not gold, not power, not fear. It is understanding. Use it wisely. Carry it forward. Teach your kind to see themselves as they truly are. Strong, resilient, and capable of greatness beyond measure. Only then will the path to the stars be open. Arun and Myra looked around at the glowing slabs, their minds full of visions and knowledge. They realized that the mask's purpose was complete. It had tested them, it had spoken, and it had given them the most precious treasure of all, trust and understanding. They stepped back toward the throne where the mask rested. Arun reached out and touched it gently. The blue light in the eyes faded, leaving only the soft golden shine of metal. The mask no longer spoke, but the feeling of presence remained, as if it had not left but had simply returned to watch silently. Myra turned to Arun, her voice steady. We carry it now. The gift. The history. The lessons. Arun nodded. Yes. And we will use it. Not for ourselves, but for everyone. For humanity. They moved back through the Hall of Crystals one last time, their steps quiet but certain. The chamber had given them the hidden gift, and they understood its weight and its meaning. The mask had spoken of death, of warning, but it had also spoken of life, of courage, and of the future. The desert above waited, quiet and endless. But below, in the chamber, humans had learned that they were more than they believed. They were strong, and they were ready. The passage leading from the crystal hall opened into the desert sunlight. Arun and Myra paused at the threshold, blinking as their eyes adjusted to the brightness. The chamber behind them seemed smaller now, almost ordinary, yet they both knew it had changed them forever. The golden mask rested on its throne, still and silent. Its blue glow had vanished, leaving only the warmth of gold shining in the morning sun. Arun took a deep breath. He felt pride, awe, and responsibility all at once. The mask had tested them, shown them the past, and shared its hidden gift. Now it was their turn to carry its legacy. Myra looked at Arun. "We cannot take it with us," she said softly. "It belongs here. It is part of the chamber, part of the history it protects." Arun nodded. "Yes. The mask has spoken. Its duty is complete. It must stay." He stepped closer to the throne and traced a finger lightly over the edge of the mask. The metal was cold but smooth. He felt its weight not in his hand, but in his heart. Together, they turned toward the desert, leaving the mask behind. The sun warmed their faces, and the wind carried grains of sand across the dunes. The chamber was now silent, yet they could still feel the presence of the mask, like a gentle reminder that humans were capable of greatness. As they walked toward the camp, Arun spoke. "The mask has shown us that humans were tested and that we survived. That is something no one else can take away. We are stronger than we realize." Myra smiled faintly. "And it has given us knowledge too. About the past, about the choices we must make. We are not just part of history, we are the makers of the future." The workers had gathered at the edge of the dig site, their faces pale with awe and fear. Many did not understand what Arun and Myra had seen, but they could feel the change in them. Arun raised a hand to calm them. "It is done," he said. "The mask has spoken and the chamber has shared its gift. We return to the world with knowledge, courage, and responsibility. That is what matters now." One of the workers whispered, "Do you think it was a god?" Arun shook his head. "No. It was not a god. It was a guardian. A reminder that humans are capable of both light and shadow. We decide which path we take." Myra looked up at the sky. The stars above the desert were faint in the early morning light, but they remembered the visions from the chamber. "Do you think humans will ever reach the stars?" she asked quietly. Arun smiled. "If we remember what we learned here, we will." The mask said it is possible, but only if we carry courage, wisdom, and the memory of those who came before us. We can rise, and we can build a future worthy of the stars. They spent the day walking across the desert, their steps slow but steady. The golden dunes stretched endlessly, but for the first time, Arun and Myra felt that the world was open, full of possibility. They knew the path would not be easy. Challenges awaited, dangers and failures would come. Yet they also carried hope, a light stronger than fear. That evening, they set up camp near the edge of the desert. Arun sat quietly, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. Myra joined him, holding a small notebook where she had recorded every detail of their journey. "The mask's gift is more than knowledge," she said. "It is belief. It believes in humans, and now we must believe too." Arun nodded. "We will. And we will share it. Not all will understand, but those who listen will carry it forward. The mask may have spoken of death, but its true message was life. The life of humanity, and our future." As night fell, the first stars appeared. Arun and Myra looked up, remembering the star map and the visions of ships crossing black space. Their hearts lifted with pride and determination. The desert was quiet, but it no longer felt empty. It was a beginning, a promise that humans could rise and face the challenges ahead. The golden mask remained behind in the chamber, silent but watchful. Its duty was complete, yet its presence lingered in the hearts of Arun and Myra. It had tested, guided, and gifted them. It had shown the truth: humans were capable of courage, wisdom, and greatness beyond measure. And so, as the desert wind blew and the stars shone above, Arun and Myra began their journey home. They carried with them not gold, not power, but a deeper understanding of who humans were and what they could become. The mask's legacy was theirs to honor, and in doing so, they would ensure that humanity would rise, meet the stars, and shape its own destiny. The desert was vast, the night was deep, and the future awaited. Yet Arun and Myra walked forward with courage and knowledge, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The mask had spoken of death, but humanity had found life.